Charles. Hello, this is Jillian again from Big Peach Midtown, and this is your hill repeat video for the Transfer Money Workshop on April 16th. So as we go through the video, we're going to break the analysis down to two installments. I'm going to run the first part of you running downhill at regular speed, and then we'll run it again in slow motion with a little bit of video analysis. But some of the key elements that we want to take away from this is that, number one, a lot of the same running tendencies that we saw in your baseline video on the flat surface in the parking lot are present here. So there will be heel striking, there will be a little bit of tightness in the upper part of the torso, and you will be doing a great job of keeping the arms away from the midline of the torso and keeping the elbows rolled back, and you're doing a great job of keeping the chin out of the chest. What we want to talk about now is what you're doing and how it applies to how efficiently and how injury-free you can attack a hill, especially since one of your goals is a Peachtree Road Race in 2018. So let's take a look at you running downhill.
Go for it.
Alright, and we'll run that back. Then we're going to run this again in slow motion. Make some visual notes about upper body alignment, as well as whether or not we are looking at some significant differences in the stride length. So some notes on downhill running. We are 4 times more likely to overstride. That means send that leg out in front of our center of gravity and put the foot in a heel striking position. We're 4 times more likely to overstride on a downhill for that reason. This is one of the ways that the body naturally stops itself from falling too far forward and falling flat on your face. This is one of the instinctive elements that you will, in contrast to what we discussed in the workshop, fight against. Because you do want to protect the knee and making sure that you are landing forefoot and taking that pressure, that landing pressure off the knee by making sure that you're landing forefoot, not on the heel so aggressively, is going to be one of the first ways to get that accomplished. Second element that you want to avoid, and you want to continue doing this, good job on keeping the arms close to the torso. You don't want the arms to wing out and have the elbows pointing out to the side. That's another tactic that your body instinctively uses to break its forward momentum, and you don't want to do that. Keep the hands and the arms close to the chest to kind of provide you some stability. Last element, want to make sure that you are not rolling the shoulders back and you're not leaning backwards. That's another instinctive tactic that your body incorporates to slow down its forward momentum going down a hill. As that leaning backwards, that rolling back of the shoulders, that encourages your leg to stick out into that straight orientation, straight in front of you, and into that overstriding position. We want to avoid that. Good trick to use, in addition to keeping the arms in at the sides, increase your cadence. So if you're, for instance, your cadence on a straight surface, on a flat surface, is 180 steps per minute, when you're going downhill, you want to take even more steps per minute. You want to aim for 185 or even 190. The quicker steps are going to be what can help you naturally practice preventing that overstriding. Alright, and now we're going to take a look at you coming back up the hill. And we're going to do this at normal speed. Now coming up the hill, the biggest tip that I can give you is one that you're already more or less familiar with. You just want to maintain as consistent of a pace and consistent of a cadence as you can coming up the hill. The thing about Atlanta races, where there's one hill, there's going to be several more, and those hills are going to be in place for you for a number of miles for a lot of cases. So here's where you can really use tools like the top-down approach that we discussed in posture, lean, and landing to your advantage. You definitely want to make sure that you're continuing to do what you do and keeping that chin out of the chest. Keep your eyes on the top of that hill, regardless of how hard it feels, because you want to make sure that you're breathing sufficiently to make sure you don't tire out easily. Additionally, it's going to help prevent your lower body from getting out of alignment with the upper body. We are actually seeing a little bit of a tendency, a disconnect between the lower body and the upper body here. And we want to make sure that we're strengthening that core with regular cross training so that we're not leaning in at the hips. We don't want to have this hip collapsing that we got going on here. We've got the body in a chevron position, and we've got the butt literally dragging itself behind you. That's even more for you have to work harder to propel yourself up the hill. So we definitely want to make sure that we maintain a forward lean from the ankles. A good trick to maintain that and try to practice that as you go up a hill. Practice high knees, the high knee drills. Really focus on driving up your knees as you go up the hill. That's going to help you lean forward a little bit more naturally the higher you pick up the knees as you go up the hill. And it's going to help by default bring the pelvis forward and just shift the body forward into a more consistent forward leaning position. All right, Charles. Great job with us today. Thank you so much for joining us as part of the Transform Running Workshop at Big Peach Midtown.